All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our virtual open house 2021. My name is Lang. I'm a student recruitment advisor with Concordia University of Edmonton, and I'm joined today by Dr. Edgar Schmidt, Dean of our Faculty of Education, as well as one of our student ambassadors, David, who will be chatting a little bit at the end about his experience as an education student. So with that out of the way, Dr. Schmidt, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much, Lang. Sorry about that. It was interesting logging in, but we managed it. Thanks very much. Now, I can't see how many people there are that are present in this presentation, so I'm just going to go ahead with information sharing that I hope will be helpful to you as you think about and consider the field of education. So first of all, a little bit about myself. My name is Edgar Schmidt. I am the Dean of the Faculty of Education at Concordia University of Edmonton. I come to this work with a lot of experience in the field, so to speak, in K-12 education. I've been a classroom teacher for a number of years. I've been a principal of schools. I've also been a supervisor and manager within central office as well as superintendent of schools. So I know the full range of work that's involved in the education system. And this is now my 9th year at Concordia University of Edmonton. So again, thank you for considering the field of education. It's a really significant field, as you may be aware of or know or have believed for a long time. The work of teachers is incredibly valuable to our society, and I'm really pleased that you have considered this work and are wanting to pursue the work of education. So today I'm just going to talk really briefly, very quick snapshot about the Bachelor of Education degree, and then I want to talk about the admission requirements, as well as some value-added components that are part of the program that you would experience at Concordia. And then a quick overview of just what would it look like once you are in the program here at Concordia. So first of all, this is this degree is a Bachelor of Education after degree, which means that anybody who wants to apply to our program must have already completed a 3- or 4-year bachelor degree. And that means then that you apply with your degree, and in 2 years, you will earn a second bachelor degree in education, which also then meets all of the requirements for the teacher certification in Alberta. And so and that's really helpful for you to know, because at the end of the 2 years, all of our graduates from the program are eligible for a teaching certificate. You require a teaching certificate to be a teacher in Alberta. It's also helpful if you're interested in teaching abroad or in other provinces. In many of our provinces, the teaching certificate is transferable. So a little bit about getting into our program. It's a competitive process, which means that we look at a number of things, requirements in the application package that everyone would submit. So if you've completed your first degree, or you're very close to completing your first degree, then what you would do is put together a package which would include your transcript, but also we're asking you to create a philosophy of teaching statement, which is really a statement about how you understand how children learn, and also how you would see yourself enhancing and facilitating that kind of learning with children. We're not looking at a very long statement. In fact, the shorter the better in terms of not more than a page or so. And we're also wanting this to be more detailed than simply I like teaching or I like children. That's important. That's a very important part of it. But what we are looking for is a little more depth around how you understand children learn and so on. So you must include a philosophy statement. You also must include a detail or a description of your volunteer and work experience, particularly as it relates to working with children and youth. Anybody going into the world of teaching, we really want them to have some experience working with children, either in a volunteer setting or in the work setting. So that could involve things like working in a day home or a childcare center. It could be working as an educational assistant in schools. It could be even volunteering in terms of coaching, soccer, volleyball, any of the sporting activities or other activities, running a chess club or those kinds of things where there is a high level of interaction between you and children and youth. So we're talking about children, could be preschool, but we could be into junior high and senior high as well. We're looking for that kind of work experience or volunteer experience. We're also then looking at the 2 confidential references. And ideally, these would be people who have who have seen you do some work with children and youth. The idea here is that we want someone who is going to reflect on how you interact with children and youth, and also how you organize and structure different kinds of activities. Something like that would be really helpful. If you're not able to provide that level of experience, then it might be a work supervisor, someone who knows and has seen you do some work. And it can't be a family member, obviously, but those are the kinds of confidential references that would be really helpful to you. Once you have this whole package together, and you would be submitting this online through Apply Alberta, and you can talk to Concordia admissions advisors to help you with that process. Once you've submitted that, then that completed package of material comes to a couple of people who are responsible for our admissions within the Bachelor of Education degree. And we do a screening and a review of this, and then if we feel that you are a suitable candidate, then we will invite you for an interview. And after the interview, when we have all of the data that we would like to collect, then we would either invite you to be part of the program, recommend you to be part of the program, or it might be that you would be you would not be successful. I said this is a competitive process. We typically get many more applications than we actually have seats. We will accept up to 105 students for next September. And so those are just some things for you to think about. So things like your general, your grade point average, for example, on the web page and in principle, anyone with a 2.3 or higher may apply. I will say that 2.3 is on the lower end. The higher you can make your GPA in your first degree, the better it will be. We don't make the decision solely on grade point average. We look at the entire package. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. So that's a little bit about the admission requirements. Once you are in the program, it is a 2-year program, which means then that the first year goes from beginning September, end of August to the end of April, and then there's a break between that time and then on to the second year, which ends in April as well, that following year. So, and during that time, The first semester is for our first year students, is very much focused on getting the grounding of what it means to be a teacher, what are the requirements for being a teacher, how do you plan and organize for instruction, and you know, how do you understand the psychology of learning, and what's the philosophical kind of groundwork for teaching. So that's in the first semester. The second semester, we introduce you to the programs of studies that you'll be teaching at an elementary school level, and then we move on to the then we go on to that first round of student teaching, actually, a 4-week period of student teaching, and with a school close by in the Edmonton area. And then the second year, we start off right in the fall with your final round of student teaching, 2 weeks in the school with your cooperating teacher, 3 weeks where you come back for some intensive planning course, for one intensive planning course, 3-week course, and then you're back out into the field for your final round of field experiences. And then the very last semester is some advanced planning curriculum instruction course. Because we've had that experience of being in the field, now we're also ready to delve deeper into how do you make sure that you are as skilled and knowledgeable as possible in teaching of reading, in the teaching of mathematics, social studies, and science and math, for as examples. So that's the overview of the 2-year program once you are recommended to be part of the degree. And the last thing I'm going to say about that is that our graduates, as we've been told by people, school division leaders, human resources people in the field of education, in school divisions, they tell us that they really like Concordia graduates because they are so well prepared. Well, part of that preparation, of course, is the 2-year courses and field experiences that we set up for you. But it's also this last component, which we call value added, where we ask and require all Year 2 students to participate in employment seminars as well as career fairs with a number of school divisions from across Alberta. Up to 20 actually come and want to present their information about their school boards to the graduates, or upcoming graduates, I should say, of our program. They come to talk about what they offer, how they support beginning teachers, the kinds of amenities and opportunities that are available for them in their various communities. This last, as well as we require students to prepare a professional learning portfolio, and all of these pieces together actually work well in preparing students not only for the world of work in the classroom, but also how to actually engage in a conversation with school division human resources people or principals who might be doing some hiring in their own particular schools. And every school division does it a little differently, and so we try to give you as much information as we can about how they do it and the kinds of things you need to prepare in order for that to happen. And so this is a thumbnail sketch of a 2-year program, how it is that you would get into this particular program and what you could expect while you were there. I will add just one other little thing. The field experiences requirement, that means student teaching in schools. The Alberta education requirement, that's the government requirement for student teaching, is 10 weeks. In our particular program, depending on the year, it's often between 14 and 15 weeks that we provide for our student teachers. And all of that time, I think, is really valuable for our students, because the more time you spend in schools, the better it is that you have a snapshot and a handle on what's going on in schools. And I think I may have glossed over it earlier on, but I want to emphasize our program is focused on elementary education, K to grade 6, and all of the student teaching experiences will be in those particular grade levels. I just want to make sure that you also understood that as part of our emphasis in working in our particular program. So with that, that's, like I said, a very high-level indication of the program, how it is that you can be admitted to the program, those admission requirements, what the 2-year program looks like, and the kinds of expectations we have with for our students. So I'm going to stop there, and perhaps David, if you've got anything you'd like to add in terms of your own experience, that would be great. And I'm happy to provide any answers to any questions that might arise. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. We'll answer questions as they come in.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll talk about myself a little bit. So I am a 3rd-year undergrad student at Concordia. My minor is in education. So I do want to talk a little bit about like the undergrad portion of the education program. So there's 3 different routes that you can go for when you take like an undergrad in education. So there's education, there's early childhood ed, and then there's physical education. So those are the 3 different routes that you can take within the program. Each of them are catered to like a specific niche, as you could say. So if you are, for example, wanting to teach high school, and I know we focus on elementary here, but if you want to teach on junior high or high school physical education, you might want to take like that physical education minor here, and then possibly go to University of Alberta, University of British Columbia, other universities, and use the Concordia minor that you took here into that program. We have the early childhood education minor, which I think is really good for students that are going to be going into the elementary after degree at Concordia. And then we have the general education one, which I think is like the most like practical ones because you're able to branch off into early ed and physical education while honing in on like the main education courses.
Thanks, David. That and I'll let you continue. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but that was a whole area that I missed. The Faculty of Education is responsible for delivering these courses to students who are in their arts or science. They are choosing a minor like this: early education, early childhood education, as well as physical education, sports studies. I'll stop there if there are any questions about that. But those are, we have over 600 students across the campus who are taking those particular courses right now. So thanks. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, bouncing off of that, some of the courses that you will take in like education or physical education minor, regardless. So you take Intro to Ed. So this course here, if you're not quite sure if you want to be in education or if you're still questioning like what career path you want, you do like a mini practicum where you go into the schools and you go to an elementary classroom, you go to a junior high classroom, and you go to a high school classroom, and you're able to determine like which area that you actually enjoy teaching. I think this class is like the most important one to take at Concordia. It's one of your requirements for your undergrad degree, and I think it really does give you a taste of where you want to land, and it really does put in perspective if you want to pursue an after degree here or other places. The other course I think that is really like a fun course would be Intro to Physical Education. So this is the most hands-on practical class I think you'll take within the undergrad degree. Of course, you get a lot more hands-on in the after degree program, But in the undergrad, you're learning how to write lesson plans in a physical education setting, and you're learning how like the curriculum works. And you're learning how to like use the curriculum to make these lessons your own, and you're really getting a good taste for what's to come in the after degree program.
Thank you, David. Like that was great. That was actually
Awesome.
like right when Edgar had finished up and you were giving your little spiel there, I was about to say, like, how was your experience in Ed 199? And I'm so happy that you already had kind of had that lined up. So that was great.
Thanks very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Schmidt. Thank you, David. And thank you for all of our attendees for joining us. That is the end of our session for Faculty of Education today. Enjoy the rest of Open House, and we hope to see some of you in the halls this fall.
Okay. Thank you.